On July 17, 2014, Malaysian Flight 17 was shot down over a Ukrainian war zone 30 miles from the Russian border. Within 2 hours, virtually every media outlet, from liberal to conservative, stated unequivocally that Russian-armed Ukrainian rebels using a Buk missile were to blame. It seemed like September 11, 2001, all over again, in that the media and politicians knew everything within hours, and whoever challenged the narrative was a conspiracy theorist and in bed with the enemy.
Either you are with us or you are with the terrorists.
But as the hours turned to days, the media and Obama administration's parroted account began to unravel. No one asked why the supposed Buk missile fired by the Ukrainian rebels was seen by no one, despite the fact that they leave a huge exhaust trail that lingers in the air long after being fired. No one would explain why MH17 took a route different from its previous 10 flights. No one would explain why the Ukrainian air traffic control tapes revealing why MH17 was diverted 300 miles north over a war zone were hidden away from the public. No one would explain why the US spy satellite directly overhead, able to read a license plate on a car from space, did not record any images, or rather, why these images are being hidden away from the public. But most importantly, the public was never told why the huge amount of radar, satellite, and communication data from the nearby NATO Operation Seabreeze was hidden away from the public. At the time of the MH17 shootdown, NATO Operation Seabreeze was in full swing. This included an E-3 Sentry, able to detect radar data for hundreds of miles, including the firing of Buk missiles, not to mention a phalanx of U.S. electronic intelligence equipment able to pick up virtually all communications, including Ukrainian air traffic control communications. This treasure trove of radar, satellite, and communication data was oddly suppressed by the Obama administration. Instead, to prove that the Ukrainian rebels shot down MH17 with a Buk missile, the Obama administration ludicrously cited social media, including a Ukrainian government-supplied YouTube video of an intercepted phone call purportedly proving that the Ukrainian rebels and Russians had taken credit for the shootdown. The YouTube video of the intercepted phone call was actually created the day before the plane was shot down, per the video metadata, and has been completely discredited.
All right, Paul Watson, we got a minute and a half left. I know you're working on a lot of big stories right now at Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. What else is coming up?
Well, another major issue is the fact that within an hour of this shootdown taking place, Ukraine came out and said, we've got bombshell evidence that implicates the Russian government. And so people were asking, okay, what have you got? You know, radar recordings, satellite imagery. Turns out they've got a YouTube video, which is this alleged separatist commander speaking with a leader of the Russian armed forces, basically admitting that they shot down the airliner. Problem is, the Ukrainians had already intercepted communications from the same people, allegedly, over a month before. So they knew that the communications were intercepted. The Russians, the separatists, made no effort to encrypt the communications. And
this is the same globalist, remember, the same globalist that had Syrian Danny. Remember him?
Yeah, but the big aspect of this is you actually download the video and look at the video encode timestamp. And this is not like Facebook pages that can be created before, renamed later. This is the actual time the video was created in the file, and it was the 16th. It was the day before the airline was even shot down.
Oh, they had it all ready and prepared.
It was all ready to roll.
If the Obama administration is engaged in a massive cover-up, what exactly are they covering up? That the neo-Nazi-linked Ukrainian government are actually the ones responsible for the shootdown of MH17 and not the Ukrainian rebels? According to a BBC report, the most powerful of the so-called US-backed protesters that toppled the democratically elected Ukrainian government were largely part of the neo-Nazi groups Right Sector and Svoboda, who now hold the upper echelons of power in the Ukrainian government. The U.S. couldn't wait 2 years for the next election to vote out Ukrainian President Viktor Yanukovych, and instead installed billionaire bankster Petro Poroshenko as president via a coup d'etat, who went on to gorge his administration with neo-Nazis. This includes the former leader of the so-called Euromaidan protest movement, Andrei Parubi, who has been appointed Secretary of National Security by Poroshenko. There are literally dozens of neo-Nazis in the Poroshenko government, including Alexander Sich, now Deputy Prime Minister. So what has this neo-Nazi connected Ukrainian government been up to in regards to Malaysian Flight 17? Hitler famously dressed up his troops in Polish uniforms on August 31, 1939, and staged a mock attack of Germany as a prelude to invade Poland and plunge the world into World War II. The Ukrainian government, despite what the Obama administration says, expanded on Hitler's deception in blaming their enemy, the Ukrainian rebels, for the shootdown of MH17. The mainstream media buried a report by Michael Bakurikiu, an OSCE monitor, who was first on the scene, who unequivocally stated MH17 showed signs of being shot down by machine gun fire and not a Buk missile, as parroted by the Obama administration and the mainstream media.
What do you think we know about what happened to that aircraft today as compared with the first day you came?
There have been 2 or 3 pieces of fuselage that have been really pockmarked. It almost looks like machine gun fire, very, very strong machine gun fire, that has left these unique marks that we haven't seen anywhere else. We've also been asked, for example, have we seen any examples of a missile? Well, no, we haven't. That's the answer.
According to aviation expert Peter Hysenko, who visually inspected the portion of MH17 cited by OSCE monitor Michael Bakurikiu, the bullet holes on the MH17 cockpit were likely made by 30mm cannons fired by 2 Ukrainian Su-25 jets on each side of MH17, which correlates with Russian radar data released on July 21, 2014. The fact that there were Ukrainian jets flanking MH17 was attested to by witnesses in a BBC report aired briefly, then immediately deleted.
Жители близлежащих сел уверяют, что видели в небе боевые самолеты незадолго до катастрофы. Именно истребители, по их мнению, могли сбить Боинг.
2 взрыва было в воздухе, вот это вот как он разрывался, и туда полетело по сторонам.
И рядом еще один был самолет военный,
да,
все видели.
Да, ниже и шел, потому что его видно было, ниже он и шел пассажирского.
Why exactly is the Obama administration covering for its puppet neo-Nazi regime in Ukraine? And why are we fighting a proxy war with Russia that more than likely will lead to World War III? As always, it's about money. The International Monetary Fund, Federal Reserve banking cartel that siphons off hundreds of trillions of dollars from nations, including the United States, by endlessly indebting them, is being threatened. Russia is spearheading an alternative to the IMF Federal Reserve dollar-based system under the so-called BRICS Treaty that includes Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. Instead of the IMF Federal Reserve bankrupting nations, the BRICS Treaty will seek to loan member nations currency to build up the nation, not tear it down and bankrupt it, as the IMF Federal Reserve spectacularly did in Greece, is in the process of in most of Western Europe, and is now almost complete in the United States. Our projected debt to be a staggering $20 trillion by 2016. Obama's bankster handlers are pushing him to start a war with Russia to collapse the IMF Federal Reserve BRICS threat that may in fact lead to a nuclear confrontation with Russia and ultimately the extinction of the human race. An option to avoid nuclear annihilation may be to get rid of Obama by impeachment and dissolve the IMF Federal Reserve cartel, to elect politicians that aren't controlled by banksters and don't want to engage the U.S. in endless wars. It's a tall order, a seemingly insurmountable task, to untangle America from the IMF Federal Reserve cartel stranglehold that will ultimately lead to our destruction. But let us hope America will rise to the occasion and restore this great nation to its former glory. To restore America, as Ronald Reagan once said, to that shining city on the hill.
The past few days, when I've been at that window upstairs, I've thought a bit of the shining city upon a hill. The phrase comes from John Winthrop, who wrote it to describe the America he imagined. What he imagined was important because he was an early pilgrim, an early freedom man. He journeyed here on what today we'd call a little wooden boat. And like the other pilgrims, he was looking for a home that would be free. I've spoken of the shining city all my political life, but I don't know if I ever quite communicated what I saw when I said it. But in my mind, it was a tall, proud city built on rocks stronger than oceans, windswept, God-blessed, and teeming with people of all kinds living in harmony and peace. A city with free ports that hummed with commerce and creativity. And if there had to be city walls, the walls had doors, and the doors were open to anyone with the will and the heart to get here. That's how I saw it and see it still. And how stands the city on this winter night? More prosperous, more secure, and happier than it was 8 years ago. But more than that, after 200 years, 2 centuries, she still stands strong and true on the granite ridge, and her glow is held steady no matter what storm. And she's still a beacon, still a magnet for all who must have freedom, for all the pilgrims from all the lost places who are hurtling through the darkness toward home. We've done our part, and as I walk off into the city streets, a final word to the men and women of the Reagan Revolution, the men and women across America who for 8 years did the work that brought America back. My friends, we did it. We weren't just marking time, we made a difference. We made the city stronger, we made the city freer, and we left her in good hands. All in all, not bad. Not bad at all. And so, goodbye, God bless you, and God bless the United States of America.